YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another product review. Today's review is going to be on the SCUF Instinct Pro. This is a brand new controller just released by SCUF, kind of their follow-on to their Prestige, and made to kind of compete with other premium controllers with paddles, things like the Microsoft Elite Series 2. Opening up the box here, you can see my configuration of the SCUF Instinct Pro. Kind of like an all black matte model. Very similar actually to the Elite Series 2. And I actually intentionally did that because I am going to do a comparison video between this and the Elite Series 2. And this is the closest configuration that I could come up with that actually matches that other controller. Now, starting off talking about the design and build quality, the build quality feels very good. This is an all plastic design, but the quality of plastic here used does make it feel very good, very high quality. It does have a nice little bit of heft to it, which goes a long way to making it feel a little bit more premium. All of the buttons on here feel very good. There's no mushiness to them. They're all very clicky and tactile. The triggers on the back are very smooth and light, and the thumbsticks have a very nice amount of resistance to them. Overall, I have no real complaints about the build quality of this controller. As far as longevity is concerned, this is a brand new controller, just released within the past couple of weeks, so only time will tell how well these things hold up, but my initial thoughts are that there should be no issues there. Now, as far as the design is concerned, as with all SCUF controllers, there's a seemingly endless amount of options as far as customizing exactly what you want, as far as the color of the triggers and the bumpers and the thumbsticks and the faceplate, whether or not you want to include the rumble packs or not. There's just a ton of different design options that you can go with. Again, I went with kind of this all matte black, including the X, Y, A, and B buttons, just to kind of mimic the Elite Series 2 so that I can do a proper comparison video. But there's like 10 different color options that you can go with on this controller. Do keep in mind though that depending on which color options you go with, that's going to add to the price, usually about $10 or so. And the crazier you get with this design, the more expensive the controller is going to be. Other things to note about the design, it's pretty much what you could expect from a standard Xbox controller. It's the same size, it's got very similar thumbsticks, although you can switch these out for domed or concave, small, medium, long, length. This is a pretty customizable controller, and it's very easy to do as well. Just pulling up on this top plate here, it's all magnetic, so this just pops off. And then you can kind of see all the different parts in here. To switch out these thumbsticks, you just pull it off. It does require a good bit of force here, but these just pull off, and then you can put on a different set, or if yours get worn out, you can put a replacement set on there as well. They're also a little bit harder to put on compared to some other controllers like the Elite Series 2. Takes a little bit of effort there, but not bad at all. The D-pad is also interchangeable. That just magnetically comes off as well. And to put the plate back on there, it's also magnetic and just snaps right back on. Now, the biggest thing about this controller, as with most other aftermarket controllers, are the paddles on the back. And in fact, for this model, they're really less of a paddle than they are just a solid button. These first two buttons right here, which is where typically your middle fingers are going to kind of press down on those right there. I really like the placement of those buttons. They're a little stiff in my opinion. They require a lot more effort than like the Prestige paddles did, or the Elite controller paddles, or some other controllers with buttons on the back. They require a little bit more force. That's kind of a personal preference thing, whether or not that's going to be an issue for you, but it's not really hard to press. It's just definitely, it takes a little bit more of a concerted effort than most. But the thing that I don't really care for on the back of this particular controller are kind of what would typically be the X and Y buttons here. The way your fingers rest on this, I'm not a big fan of how you almost have to lift up with your middle finger to press what would typically be the X and Y buttons there. It's just kind of an awkward angle for me. Typically one of the reasons you have those back buttons is so that you can press X, Y, A, and B without having to take your right thumb off of the joystick. And it feels really natural to push down on those first two, but lifting up for those other two, it's just a little bit of an awkward angle in my opinion. It's something that you could probably get used to with time. I'm not used to that placement of those buttons. Typically you press down and not up. But it just feels like because you have to lift your back fingers up to hit those buttons, it causes a little bit more movement and is just awkward if you're trying to move and aim while pulling up at the same time. Instead of pushing down kind of into your palm, you're almost having to lift up against kind of your thumb area here. So you really got to grip the controller kind of firmly to kind of compensate for that. Other than that, the design of the controller is really good. Again, almost an endless amount of ways you can customize this controller so that you can get everything the perfect color that you want. They've even got a design section on their website where you can actually get a design printed on this faceplate. So as far as build quality and design goes, I would say I like everything pretty well. Now there's two different models of this controller. There's a regular model and an Instinct Pro, which is what this is right here. And they're essentially the same controller. The only differences are the Pro model has kind of this texturized rubber grip on the back. And most importantly, the Pro model has these adjustable hair triggers here with kind of two different positions. The first position is your typical trigger depression here. And then if you switch these to the hair trigger mode, these are pretty much the definition of a true hair trigger. Some of these have multiple step adjustments. These have a very small amount of pre-travel. I am hardly hitting that button at all right there to activate it. And the website actually refers to them having almost a mouse click type of trigger pull. And when I first read that, I really didn't understand exactly what that meant, why they were comparing it to a mouse button, but that is actually the perfect description for what is going on here. It actually feels like I'm almost pushing down on a mouse button. It even sounds kind of like a mouse click. So very little travel there at all. Now the difference in price for the two start at $40, and I think that's well worth the price. When you're spending $170 for the basic model and you're losing out on those trigger adjustments, I think that's kind of a big deal. If you're already spending $170 on a customized controller, you might as well spend the $40 and get the full experience, especially since most of the competitors to this do offer adjustable triggers as well. Now this does have an inline mute button here, which is really handy, and the back buttons are remappable, and to remap these, it's very easy. There's a little profile button here to select between the profiles. I think you can store up to like 2 or 3 different profiles on this controller, but you would select which profile you want, and then to remap those buttons, you would just hold down the button you want to remap and the button you want to map it to, and you would hold those down for about 3 to 5 seconds. The light down here would blink, and that would let you know that the remap was successful. So there's no need to really have any software to remap these buttons, and it's very easy to do so. So as far as price is concerned, the basic model starts at $170 and the Instinct Pro starts at $200. And obviously those are starting prices, so if you get a little crazy with the colors or you start doing other options like removing the rumble packs and things like that, that can only add to the price. That's definitely towards the top end of the market for a customizable controller. Of course, you have the SCUF Prestige. You have obviously the Microsoft Elite controller to choose from as well. Now, $200, is that really necessary? That's for you to decide. SCUF is kind of one of the biggest names in the accessory market, especially controllers. There are cheaper options out there that do many of the similar things. Some of the stuff you might be missing out though typically is related to build quality and just design and stuff like that. So you can find cheaper options out there. The biggest competitor you're gonna find against this though is the Microsoft Elite Controller Series 2. I'm actually gonna do a direct comparison between the two because they are so similar and they are direct competitors in a similar price bracket. The Microsoft Elite Controller 2 retails for $179.99, and the Elite Series 2 is widely considered to be the best aftermarket controller on the market for Xbox and PC. With that being said, would I recommend buying this controller? I think the biggest thing that this has going for it is the customization options that it has. If you really want to get in here and make this controller your own and have a different design printed over this, or you want to have a specific color layout, then I would say go for this controller. Otherwise, that $210 price tag is going to be pretty hard to swallow, especially again when you can get something like the Elite Series 2 for about $30 cheaper. If you're in the market for a premium controller and you are willing to spend, say, over $150 for a controller, and maybe you don't like the Elite Series 2 for one reason or another, maybe it's the design or the color layout, or maybe it's a little bit too heavy for you, because the Elite Series 2 is a little bit heavier than this controller here, which I don't mind at all, but some people may find that fatiguing. If you're in that price bracket and you're looking for a premium controller and the Elite Series 2 is not your thing, then I think this is a really great option. With that being said, that pretty much wraps up this review. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do hit the thumbs up button. If you guys are interested in seeing other videos like this, product reviews, stream tutorials, things like that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And YouTube, we'll catch you later.